Have you ever wondered if love can truly conquer all? Not just distance or family disapproval, but the clash of entire empires and religions. Today, we're diving into a story that feels like it's straight out of a historical epic. A tale of forbidden love that shook the foundations of both British India and the court of Hyderabad. This is the story of James Achilles Kirkpatrick and Khair-un-Nissa, a union that defied every rule in the book. So, who was James Kirkpatrick? Picture this. It's the late 18th century. The British East India Company is flexing its muscles across the subcontinent. James is the British resident at the court of the Nizam of Hyderabad, a position of immense power and influence. He was a man of his time, ambitious, intelligent, and deeply embedded in the complex politics of the era. But James was different. Unlike many of his countrymen, who saw India merely as a place to exploit, James was utterly captivated by its culture. He learned Persian, adopted local customs, and was known to be more comfortable in Indian attire than in his stiff British uniform. And then, he saw her, Khair-un-Nissa, which translates to most excellent among women. She was the granddaughter of the Nizam's prime minister, a young noblewoman of exquisite beauty and sharp intellect, barely a teenager. She lived a sheltered life within the zinana, the women's quarters of the palace, a world entirely separate from the British men who frequented the court. According to the accounts, their first meeting was a stolen glance across a courtyard, a moment that sparked an instant and powerful connection. For James, it was love at first sight. For Khair-un-Nissa, this intriguing foreigner represented a world beyond the high walls of her home. But their love was impossible. Absolutely forbidden. He was a Christian, a representative of a foreign power. She was a Muslim Sayyida, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, destined for an arranged marriage within her own community. Any association between them would bring dishonor and scandal, not just to her family, but to the entire Hyderabadi court. The social and religious barriers were not just walls, they were fortresses. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. James, consumed by his love for Khair-un-Nissa, began a secret correspondence. He sent messages through trusted intermediaries, risking his career and reputation with every word. Khair-un-Nissa, equally smitten, reciprocated. Their letters were filled with poetry, longing, and the desperation of two souls kept apart by a world that refused to understand. Her family, particularly her grandfather and mother, were horrified when they discovered the affair. The scandal was immense. They tried to keep her under stricter guard to end the communication, but the bond was already too strong. James found himself in a profound spiritual conflict. He was a man of faith, a Christian, but his love for Khair-un-Nissa made him question everything. He couldn't imagine a life without her, but their religions stood as the ultimate barrier. In an act that would send shockwaves through both British and Indian society, James Kirkpatrick made a monumental decision. He resolved to convert to Islam. This wasn't a casual gesture or a political maneuver. By all accounts, it was a sincere act of devotion, driven by his desire to legitimately marry the woman he loved. He secretly underwent the conversion, taking the name Hashma Jangwar, valiant in battle. He fully embraced his new identity. He began to wear Mughal attire, not just in private, but publicly. He grew a beard, adopted the local etiquette, and even participated in Islamic traditions. To his British colleagues, he was becoming a white Mughal, a man who had gone native. They saw it as a betrayal, a dangerous blurring of the lines between colonizer and colonized. They worried he was compromising British interests, becoming too sympathetic to the Indian court. For Khair-un-Nissa's family, his conversion was the proof of devotion they needed. While the scandal hadn't vanished, his willingness to renounce his own faith for her was a powerful testament to his sincerity. It was an unprecedented step. Her mother, who had initially been against the match, was won over by his commitment and became their strongest advocate, eventually convincing Khair-un-Nissa's grandfather to give his blessing. In 1801, James Kirkpatrick and Khair-un-Nissa were married in a secret Islamic ceremony. It was a union that symbolized the merging of two worlds, a personal treaty of love in an age of political conflict. He built a magnificent residence for them, the British residency in Hyderabad, which still stands today. He designed a special section, the Rang Mahal, or Palace of Colors, which recreated the luxurious world of a zanana for his beloved wife. A private paradise, where their two cultures could coexist. Their life together was, by all accounts, a happy one. They had 2 children, a son named Mir Ghulam Ali Sahib Alam, and a daughter named Khair-un-Nissa Sabi Begum. They were raised in this unique, blended household, speaking Persian, Hindustani, and English. James, now Hashmahjang, doted on his wife and children. He was a loving husband and a devoted father. They created their own world inside the walls of the residency, a bubble of tolerance and love in a deeply divided society. But the outside world could not be kept at bay forever. News of his un-British lifestyle, his conversion, and his marriage reached the ears of the Governor-General in Calcutta, Lord Wellesley. Wellesley was an arch-imperialist who believed in the absolute supremacy of British culture. He was appalled. He saw Kirkpatrick's actions as a disgrace and a threat to British authority. He launched an official inquiry, accusing James of treason, corruption, and immoral conduct. The pressure was immense. James was ordered to Calcutta to answer for his actions. It was a devastating blow. He had to leave his wife and young children behind in Hyderabad, not knowing if he would ever be allowed to return. The journey was long and arduous, and the stress took a heavy toll on his health. Tragically, before he could fully clear his name, James Achilles Kirkpatrick died of a fever in Calcutta in 1805. He was only 41 years old. The tragedy didn't end there. Khair-un-Nissa was left a widow at just 19. Her world fell apart. After James's death, their 2 children, who were only 5 and 3 years old, were taken from her. In a cruel twist of fate, they were sent to England to be raised as respectable English Christians by James's family. They were given new names, William and Kitty, and were told their mother had died. They grew up with no memory of their Indian heritage or the loving mother who was still grieving for them in Hyderabad. Khair-un-Nissa never saw them again. She lived the rest of her life in seclusion, dying just 8 years later, likely of a broken heart. The story of James and Khair-un-Nissa was almost lost to history, buried under the official records of the British Empire. But it's a powerful reminder that history is not just about wars and treaties, it's about people. It's about love, sacrifice, and the human desire for connection that can sometimes, even for a brief moment, transcend the greatest of divides. Their love story, though ending in tragedy, remains a poignant symbol of a different path that could have been taken. A path of cultural fusion instead of conflict. What do you think? Was James a romantic hero who sacrificed everything for love? Or a man who betrayed his country and culture? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden histories. See you next time.